So, hello, brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode of the Redemptress Friendship Circle, a new podcast that has been initiated by us, the Redemptress, who are based in Singapore from the Vice Province of Malaysia in Singapore. My name is Gerard. I'm a Redemptress. I come from Singapore, but at the moment I'm coming to you from San Antonio in Texas, where I'm spending a whole semester studying at the Oblate School of Theology, doing a sabbatical and renewal program. So welcome, everyone. With me is co-host of the Redemptress Friendship Circle. Hi, Terence.
Hi, good morning, everyone. And I'm Terence. I'm also a Redemptress here from Malaysia and Singapore. And at the moment, I am at sunny Singapore, especially here in Novena Church, Thomson Road. So wonderful to see you, Gerard. How's the weather over there now?
The weather after a couple of very cold weeks has gone back now to a Texas winter. And a Texas winter is about 5 degrees in the morning. And then it starts to warm up during the day and becomes cool again at night. So
so it's actually very comfortable, I guess.
Yeah, it's very comfortable. So this is a nice part of the year, and South Texas, where San Antonio is, has got a very mild climate. But there are those cold days during winter as well. Yeah.
So I remember in the last podcast we say that perhaps today, if you might want to introduce some food that you have there, some wonderful steak or something. Have you had a chance to actually do that? Enjoy some of
I've still not had a steak.
Oh my gosh! What are you doing?
Well, you got to go to a whole steak restaurant and do that. But what I have had is a particular fast food that is considered the best in Texas, which is called Whataburger.
Okay.
Yeah,
Whataburger. I've never.
Yeah, so perhaps in Singapore we are familiar with Shake Shack or something like that. It's very similar.
Yes.
So I went there the other day and got myself a bacon and cheeseburger with fries and a Dr. Pepper. So that's one.
Is it good?
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
Better than the average fast food burger. And the other food that's very common here, because in South Texas, it's only 2 hours away from the border of Mexico. So Mexican food is the thing. And so fajitas, tortillas, tacos, and the works. Yeah.
Okay,
so
wonderful.
Made some beef fajitas and tortillas, which are really delicious.
Yeah, just remember to keep up your jogging and all your workout just to make sure that you'll still come back in shape.
Yeah, well, I've just had a light dinner, so that's a good thing.
Okay, all right.
Okay, Terence, we are not the only ones here, and today we have a special guest, as we always do.
Oh, really?
And our special guest today is, would you like to introduce him, Terence?
Okay, so this special guest is someone that we thought our listeners would perhaps like to get to know also, because he's just a new addition to our flock here in Malaysia and Singapore, and he is none other than, I'm sorry, we just have all the new effects, so I'm just putting this. Brother Anthony Prabhu. Yeah, Anthony. Okay, so just a very quick introduction. Brother Anthony is now still studying in our seminary in Philippines, and very recently, just about a couple of weeks ago, he was finally professed. So now he is a full-fledged Redemptress among us. And the final profession was done here in Novena Church, and now he's back for his final stage of studies. He will have to clear his final thesis, and then he will hopefully come back and be ordained very soon, and will start serving here in Malaysia and Singapore. So Anthony, tell us about yourself and what's happening right now.
Yeah, good morning once again, Father Terence and Father Gerard. I am Anthony. I was thinking how would I introduce myself? Then I thought I am talking all the way from the durian capital of the Philippines. And this is the crown jewel. This city is called the crown jewel of the island of the Mindanao in Philippines. Is none other than the Davao city, where most of our Redemptress, at least late 2000, most of our Redemptress have studied here theology. And I'm right now joining this podcast from St. Alphonsus Theological and Mission Institute, all the way from Davao City. And actually, I'm in one of the classrooms here.
All right. So St. Alphonsus Theological and Mission Institute, which is a short form for SETME, is our regional seminary, of which Father Eugene, I, and Father Robin, Father Francis, we were all products of SETME. So very happy to see Anthony over there and try and get some updates of what's happening over there. All right. So yeah, continue, please.
Yes, and right now I am in my last semester of studies here, and this is the part of the initial formation. Actually, I was in Singapore the beginning of last month, January 7th, for my final profession, and then immediately after that I returned. I'm just continuing my final thesis now, and really can't wait to be back in Singapore and as well as Malaysia to join our mission there.
Yeah, and you and I will be coming back to Singapore more or less around the same time as well. Yeah.
Yes.
And give our regards to everybody in SADMI, because all three of us have a couple of things in common. First of all, we've all spent some years in SADMI for one reason or another. Now, I did not study there. I did not do my seminary and theology studies in SADMI. However, I was teaching there for a number of years. Terence and Anthony, of course, will be products of the education system, the academic system, and they get their masters in theology when they finish, before they are ready now for ordination. Okay, now that's one thing we have in common. We have something else in common as well. Now, all three of us are finally professed members of the Redemptorist congregation, and that's an introduction to the topic, what we're going to be discussing, what we're going to be talking about today. Okay, now what does that mean? Okay, and we want to share a little bit more about this very important aspect of our life. One, I think, that is not so well known or not so easily understood, because Father Terence and myself are ordained, and Anthony, we know, is preparing now for ordination. But that's only one part of our life. There's another part of our life that is the Redemptorist commitment that we have made to the Redemptorist congregation. So we're going to talk a little bit about how those two things sit together, how they are two different things, although they are not separate from each other. Okay?
I believe normally hearing from friends that try to explain this, I think our Franciscan brothers, they normally say it more often. You will hear a lot. Oftentimes they will say this: we are all Franciscans. Some of us are priests. So perhaps just a very simple way for us to understand this also is to tell people that we are all Redemptorists. Some of us are priests. Maybe that's a good way to introduce that. Huh? But maybe, yeah. But perhaps we can hear more insights from the one that is freshly baked out of the oven. So, Anthony,
Anthony has not even been a month since your final profession. So tell us, share with us something about your experience of that day, your preparations, and what you felt like.
Yeah, actually, my mom called me yesterday and she told, you're a few days away from your month anniversary, of my final profession. I was thinking, okay, it's all days run so fast. Well, I could not have asked for anything better than what has happened on that day of January 7th, the Epiphany of the Lord, and also the day I was given the opportunity to finally profess. As I said in my Thanksgiving speech on the day also, that particular liturgical celebration and that day will be etched, or is already etched in my soul for the rest of my life, to put it in a more poetic way. I'm very grateful to our Novena community for the so many people who came and they showed our support for our Redemptorist community, and also for a newbie like me entering into the unit as a perpetually professed member. There has been so many moments in the final profession, and as Terence was just saying, in the initial formation, all that we are gearing up towards is to become a full-fledged Redemptorist, which actually we take at the time of our temporary profession itself. I took my temporary profession of vows in the year 2019, And after a few years of discernment and learning theology and going through the rigorous initial formation, finally I came to a stage where this is it. Lord, I know that I know my weaknesses, I know my vulnerabilities, but yet you have called me, and here I am responding to it wholeheartedly. That was my feeling in the final profession. And if there is one moment that I could pick up from the whole liturgical celebration, it would be that part where the candidate, it was me this time, would fall prostrate before the altar, and everyone will kneel around and the litany of the saints be chanted or sung. And my God, I had a heavenly experience when I was falling prostrate before the whole congregation, and a lot of things ran into my mind. But I said, I am a huge fan of the tennis star Novak. So Novak always used to say, "Be at the moment," no, and somehow it came to me at that time. Djokovic would always say, "Be at the moment, be at the moment," and I was saying to myself, "Be at the moment." And now, what is happening now? And I felt like very powerless and nothing. Like you fall prostrate, and then every saint is coming and saying you, wishing you well, and all that I was saying was my mantra. No mantra. Here I am, Lord. You have called me, like how the young Samuel would say, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity from where I came from, and how this opportunity to discern as a full-fledged redemptress and finally make that commitment before very Novena congregation. And the second profound moment would be the verbal pronunciation of the evangelical counsels, that is of the vow of poverty, chastity, and obedience. And I have learned it so far theoretically in the seminary that when a person consecrates himself or consecrates through this evangelical counsels, he becomes Christ-like. He tries to imitate Christ, because these three things directly flows from the life of Christ himself, who lived in poverty, who lived a chaste life, and he was obedient to the will of the Father. And it was like, how can I imitate Christ, having known my own weaknesses, sins, vulnerabilities? Yet God is so generous in allowing a person to get consecrated. And also, as redemptress, we have a special vow, the fourth vow, which is actually the vow and the oath of perseverance, that is to live in the congregation until death. And that gave me a confidence to know, okay, I've pronounced it, and I'm going to try to live it the rest of my life. And one of my friends actually WhatsApped me saying, "So, Anthony, Charles, what has really changed, no, from the Sunday to Monday? Sunday was my profession, and what changed the next day you woke up?" And it was actually, still now I'm thinking of the same question.
Exactly.
Nothing changed physically, nothing changed in my disposition, but I would say that there is a grace that is still overflowing, and I'm trying to live in that grace every single day. When I now come into the community, I look at the confreres here. I see, oh, these confreres also have done the same commitment. They also have gone through the formation, and they have committed themselves finally. And that kind of a feeling, and that kind of a shared responsibility that comes in the apostolic community. That's why we, the Redemptorists, our topmost priority is the apostolic living, the Vita Apostolica, we put it, on how amidst our differences, our cultures, our backgrounds, our family, brought up, how we come and share this mission of Christ that is being given to us is something very unique and as well as challenging. And I'm trying to live that every day of my life. And of course, there are some other things that we need to do on a daily basis, is like commitment to the prayer life. Our spiritual book, or we call it the Constitution inside, says that we are encouraged to do at least an hour of personal prayer apart from the Eucharistic celebration and from the breviary that we do as a community together. Although I'm still far from being perfect, I try to do at least 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Sometimes I miss it, but going back to it every day and trying to be faithful to this vocation that God has graced upon me and upon us as the Redemptorist community. So this has been my feeling and experience this past month, being the newly baked Redemptorist.
Okay. So thank you for sharing that, and so there are a couple of moments, a couple of things that I pick up from you again. One is the very profound experience of prayer that you experienced as you were prostrating before the altar and the whole congregation was singing the Litany of the Saints. Now, I had a feeling that after you got up, you would tell the congregation, can we do that one more time? Because it was so special. And the other one was saying about how all of us have taken final profession. And so as a community, we're kind of united in that, Terence, what did you feel when you were prostrating there during the Litany of Saints?
Yeah, because when Anthony was describing his whole experience, I was trying to recall my own experience. Again, like I think, at least from a lot of conversations, many of us who have gone through that part of the Litany of Saints is always something that is very powerful, because if you are really at that moment, you will feel that connectedness to everyone. So it is to me, it's a bit of a surreal feeling, because for a moment there you feel you're connected to the whole Catholic community. You're connected beyond, when we profess our faith, or one Catholic apostolic. So it's that whole understanding of all the saints are all with us. But also, I feel that there's like what Anthony was also described, for that very strong moment. I feel that very profound connectedness with the congregation as a whole. Suddenly, that realization that I am part of the Redemptorist. There's thousands at that time, 5,000-6,000 of Redemptorists worldwide. I'm one of them. It is a very impactful moment. So it really calls for me to take a moment and try to understand what it means at the very core, what it means to be Redemptorist. And of course, with that high feeling, I remember at that time, it was really inside. I was just surrendering myself to God and saying that I hope that I really can give my everything to the congregation in all ways that I can. But also, I was thinking of how this feeling has evolved through time. So I've just this year I'm 10 years ordained. So I was just reflecting also, have I have a different understanding or appreciation of this experience for throughout my 10 years of priestly ministry. And in fact, I would say that the appreciation is deeper, but it also have more context. The experience throughout these 10 years have grounded in more reality, because sometimes when we are very high, it's a very idealistic thought in our mind that we want to really serve the Lord, we want to give our everything to the Lord. But then life experience will tell you that you have to put this into context, because the people around you might not always be in the same mind. You will face challenges. You will face all the obstacles. You will at some time get disillusioned. So I do see that that the wisdom of our special vow of perseverance. But I always find that to be a bit ironic because you know, when it calls for us to persevere, but we are the ones that are persevering. But when someone ultimately say that no, I might want to consider some other vocation, where does that call for perseverance stand? So I that's something that has always been in my mind. But as of now, what I feel is that. This evangelical counsels that I have professed on the day of my final profession, it is really impactful, and it is really real. It's just not something in the air. It's something that really calls me to remember day after day, and especially when I'm dealing with all the imperfections of daily life. That's where I have to come back again and again to my original profession, and to remind myself what I actually have professed my life to. So yeah, that's my experience. How about you, Gerard?
Thank you, Terence. Yeah, I mean, the Litany of the Saints was a very special experience for me, and I think one of the things I remember was being in darkness. You know, because you are lying down and your eyes are closed. Some close their eyes, or at least you're on the floor, on the ground, and you sort of know that there are all these 1,000 people around you, but you can't see them, but you can hear them. They're praying for you, and it's almost as if you're transported into another space. Found it a very, very spiritual experience. Amazing experience. And we can't do that anymore. Maybe just for a few seconds on Good Friday that we get to experience that feeling again. Okay, we must come to what would be the main central topic of our podcast today, and that's to talk about what is profession. So maybe I can ask you all, and just to say very, very briefly, in your own experience, have your family, do your friends understand what religious profession really is? Or did you have the experience of finding it a little bit difficult to explain the concept of religious profession to them? Can we start with Anthony? What was it like for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, including my own parents and my relatives and the friends from different ministries, I was actually surprised to note that not many of us really know or have had the opportunity to differentiate between profession and ordination, and what is meant to be a religious, quote unquote, religious person and an ordained minister. And I was trying to explain this to some of my friends, but they said, "Okay, we can call you Father Anthony after this Sunday of 7th January." I said, "No, I'm not ordained as an ordained minister. I just did my commitment, which I did during my first profession, and today is my final commitment as a religious, as a redemptorist, for the rest of my life, dedicating to the particular charism of the Congregation of the Most Holy Redeemer, which we call simply as the Redemptorists." If I would pick up one difference between this profession and ordination that a layperson could understand is, in our Catholic faith, we know there are 7 sacraments, and ordination is something that is one of the sacraments, and we know that the sacrament of the holy orders, the priesthood, and starting from the diaconate, priesthood, and the episcopate or the bishop ordination are the holy orders, and that is a sacrament. And what we are talking here about, and what I just went through, is a profession, a perpetual profession. And the perpetual profession is not a sacrament, although there are some debates in the church whether it should be elevated to the degree of a sacrament, but resting it aside, at the moment we are talking about it is not a sacrament, but it is a solemn profession where a candidate, after having discerned for a couple of years after having made his temporary profession, and after a number of years, make that final commitment wherein he becomes a religious. Now, what is a religious and non-religious person in secular term? Now, a religious person is someone who takes these vows of the evangelical councils, and his role or his vocation in the whole umbrella of the church differs from those who have consecrated themselves through the sacrament of matrimony, or those who are consecrated through a religious sister or a religious nun. And so the vocation differs. And now for myself, I have consecrated myself, or I have perpetually professed as a redemptorist. So I become now a perpetually professed member living in an apostolic community among the redemptorists. And our charisms is to reach to the people at the margins, to the most poor and abandoned, as sons of St. Alphonsus Liguori, the founder of the congregation. So that is my calling and my vocation, and I have reached this stage, and I'm in an apostolic community working with the redemptorists.
So we have to differentiate, say, between a couple of things, First of all, we are redemptorists. We join the congregation, and we profess ourselves to the congregation by taking the vows of poverty, of chastity, and obedience. And redemptorists have a fourth vow. Some other orders also have a fourth vow, but generally the three are common to every single religious congregation out there. Now, at the same time, in male religious congregations, many of the members also are ordained. And so we are finding it a little bit difficult to try to explain to people what is the difference between these two. Because for the most part, in the mindset of people, you are a priest, you are preparing for priesthood, to be ordained, and that's about it, really. But for us, there is this other thing, Terence, how have you gone about trying to explain this to your friends?
While listening to Anthony, I suddenly remember of this interesting experience that just happened quite recently. I think just about a week ago. Just in case people over here is not aware, we have Brother Anthony Charles, who is right here, who is still studying, who has just been finally professed and studying. Ultimately, he'll be ordained. But here, right now in Singapore, we have another father, Anthony Charles, who just came from Philippines and is helping us in our vice province right now, and he is involved in formation. So the other day, Father Anthony Charles was just passing by, and one of the churchgoers was asking me, "Who is that?" I said that is Father Anthony, and this guy looked at me and just said that, "No, that is not Father Anthony." I looked at him and I said, "I beg your pardon?" He said, "No, the Father Anthony that has just got ordained last week, this is definitely not Father Anthony." So I have to explain, no, that one, that the liturgy, the week ago, that was a final profession, and that is Brother Anthony Charles, and this is Father Anthony Charles. So this person exactly have no idea of the concept of what is a final profession and what is an ordination. For me, actually, I would say, in my experience, at least where I come from in Malaysia, I have not seen that much confusion. I would say even for my family, they have been journeying with me very much throughout my whole formation life. So they are quite familiar with what I was going through. They appreciated my first profession. They understood what it was when I had my final profession and my ordination. But I think one thing that was a little bit puzzling for them is the difference between us, the religious, and a diocesan priest. So I tend to get questions like, why is it that this parish priest, he gets to have holidays and he can just go anywhere that he wants and having this very fun time? And why is it that you are not getting this thing and you're not coming back to spend some holiday time with us? So I get questions like that. So especially from my parents, from my mom, especially. So I do kind of need to explain a little bit more about the difference between a diocesan priest and a religious. And also, I think when it comes to the vows, the one thing that they tend to need a little bit more explanation is our whole concept of the vow of poverty, on how we deal with finance. And I think right now, in this current age and time, we also have a deeper appreciation of what it means to profess the vow of poverty. It doesn't mean that we wear
Right.
torn clothes, or we do not have any transport vehicles or something like that. It's the how we deal with finance, how we use our financial means in our work of evangelization. So these are the things that I kind of need to clarify a little bit more to them, and also to explain to them that our way of dealing with finance is a little bit different from the diocesan priests. They can have their own property. They can have some of their own savings, so on and so forth. So that's the thing that I, at least from the people around me, are the ones that I kind of need to explain a little bit and clarify for them. Yeah. How about you?
Well,
do you,
Yeah,
Jerry, have any?
thanks, guys, for sharing. And perhaps our family and friends have different exposure to different things, and they struggle to understand certain things, and others can follow what our life is about. But maybe I'll just suggest something that I often say, and then your guys can chip in as well, and let me know what you think about this explanation. First of all, a person may feel a calling towards a certain way of life to serve God and to serve the church and to serve the faithful in a way that is very radical and is a total giving of his or her life. Now, at that point, there is a number of choices as to where this person feels that God might be calling them. A young man, nowadays not all of them are so young, might feel that they are called to serve the local community, to stay where they are in the diocese in which they grew up, and to serve the local faithful, particularly in ministering the sacraments and serving people through a parish. And so those people then join the diocesan priesthood. They go to a local seminary, they are ordained by their local bishop, and they are ordained to serve that local community. Now, there are others who feel that God is calling them to another kind of vocation, not necessarily to serve the local faithful, but to be available for a larger mission of the church, at which time many options are now available to them. There are religious congregations to which they make a profession and commitment towards that very particular way of life. Now, it could be as a monk, it could be as a friar, for women as sisters, they may be cloistered, or they may be apostolic. That means going out and serving the people out in the world. And then for men, after they have committed themselves to this congregation by taking the vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, some of them feel that they also wish to be ordained. And after they are ordained, they can do what diocesan priests also do, which is celebrating the sacraments. They may even run a parish, but they are at all times available for the mission of their congregation. So I guess what I would say is that for us who are religious, there's always two sides of it. There is the profession and belonging to the congregation, and then possibly the opportunity to be ordained if that is what God feels that they feel that what God is calling them to. What do you think of this explanation? Does it make any sense?
Yeah,
I
exactly. In our Redemptorist congregation, we also have brothers, and
Yes.
inside our community, we don't differentiate. Actually, he's a brother or he's a priest. We are all Redemptorists, and right at the moment in our unit in Singapore and Malaysia, we have three brothers who have not discerned, or they have found that they are not called to the ordained
Mm.
ministry, so they remain brothers as for the rest of their life. And as Jerry was telling, the, we are Redemptorists, and we live in an apostolic community.
Yeah. And would you say also that being redemptress is our primary identity? When you introduce yourself, is that the first thing that you say?
yeah yeah
Yeah, it is for me. I'm Gerard, I'm a redemptress.
yeah. I presume that for anyone who is in a religious community, the identity to the charism of the particular religious order is very important. So we kind of need to be attracted, or we feel that we want to commit to this particular charism, and that's why we join this particular order. But like what Jerry was saying, some of us, upon being part of this order or congregation of this particular charism, we feel that we can serve it in a better capacity by being ordained as priest. So we are all redemptorists. Some of us are priests. Yep.
Excellent. Okay. Is there anything to add about this idea as we are coming towards the end of our time now?
Okay. So, one thing that perhaps I believe the listeners might be interested to know also is that, as we have mentioned, all of us are redemptorists, but some of us are ordained priests. But those who decide to just remain redemptorists without being a priest, what exactly do they do? How do they live out the charism of the congregation? So, for example, we have some brothers, perpetually professed brothers here, and they will never be ordained as priests. How do they actually exercise the identity as redemptorist? Gerard, do you want to respond to that?
Okay, let me throw in a couple of things and then we'll have Anthony in as well, okay? Terence is asking and then we are answering. Terence also knows the
Yeah,
answers.
of course. I'm I love to ask questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that those who don't feel called to ordination are called by God to exercise their religious life in another way. And because they do not have the responsibilities of orders,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the sacrament of
Mm-hmm.
orders, that now allows them to be free to minister to people in many more and different ways.
Yeah.
Say, for example, for us who are ordained, now the roster takes up a fair amount of our time. We spend a
Tell
lot
me
of
about
time
it. Yeah.
celebrating Mass, and some, not sometimes, always, the preparation for celebrating Mass is longer than the Mass itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We are spending a lot of time listening to confessions. All of this
Mm-hmm.
is absolutely necessary and very, very good. However, it can take us away sometimes from other things that we may wish we could do. Yeah. For the brothers, they wish to be free from this so that they can be available for other kinds of ministry. This might include social work. This can include
Mm-hmm.
serving the community by, say, looking after the finances. We have brothers who are
Mm-hmm.
teachers. Um, we have brothers who exercise other kinds of administrative or leadership roles within the community. So there are
Mm-hmm.
many, many different things that the brothers can do.
Yeah.
Anthony, what have you seen brothers do around the world?
Yes, almost the same thing, Jerry. For me, also, when I joined the congregation as an aspirant, I was told that redemptorists are not only ordained ministers, but there are also perpetually professed brothers for life. They don't get ordained. And then when I asked Father Eugene Lee, who was my vocation director, I asked him, what is the difference between these two? And the simple answer that he gave me at the time was sacramental and non-sacramental. As Jerry just now mentioned, a fair amount of time it takes to to be doing the sacraments as such, the preparation, the homily preparation, and the meeting the people after that. So that is the sacramental side. But the non-sacramental side, it is also exciting. It's something how our sisters do, or those who are not ordained. They have a particular calling within this Catholic Church, and they are free from the sacraments, and they are enabled to do the work that the priests and ordained ministers could not do because of their attachment to the sacrament. Say, for example, here in the initial formation in Philippines, the brothers are the one who are the first one to go to the far off missions like the mountains, because they are not tied up with any sacraments with the local parish, the church here or the shrine here. So they are free from all these things and they go. That doesn't mean that they don't value the sacraments as such, because sacraments, as we know in our Catholic Church, are the visible signs through which we receive the grace of God. They do value the sacraments, but then they free themselves by not celebrating as the main celebrant of the sacrament, but they participate in it, and they make themselves available for all these missions. Just to put a very simple example, I always see one of our brothers in Redemptorist by the name Brother Albert Koo. He is the director, or the spiritual director for the ministries of hospitality. And most of the time, even during our Saturdays and Sundays, you can see that he can be seen only in the car park there, working with the lay people, helping them alongside the ministers of hospitality, and he will also be one of them, guiding them and helping them. So in a way, he need not be worried of wearing his vestments, going to the main altars, saying the homily, or preaching, and so on. So that's how I understand the brotherhood and the priesthood.
I
Very
think
good.
one of the important aspects that we might want to highlight with regards to the brothers, those that are not ordained, is that by choosing to live this vocation as a brother, they actually have more leeway to pursue in being
Dedicated.
very good in a particular field. So we do have brothers around the world that are very good artists, very good musicians. They are very good in a particular area, for example, finance. Some are in the academe, and some are very strongly involved in social justice issues, and like what we have been mentioning, because they are free from the uh, uh, clerical duties, they can really spend all their time dedicated to this particular area that they are involved in or passionate in. So I think it gives them a lot of freedom to really go into whichever area or aspects that they are focusing on. But I think it is also important for us to address the fact that, because as what we started this podcast trying to say, is that many people are very confused. They naturally look at us and they think that we are all fathers. They couldn't quite understand the difference between finally professed and being ordained. How then um, can we help the people to understand that there are actually these differences, that there are brothers that is equally important, and they are the ordained redemptorist? Any ideas?
Well, that's what we've been trying to do in this podcast. And I have a feeling that, we need a lot more episodes to really share with people so much more of what our life is about. Having said what you all said about the brothers as well, and I think even those redemptorists who are ordained themselves feel a calling to participate in non-sacramental ministry, if that is what we can call it. And in some ways, we also have been freed from a certain amount of sacramental work. We live in larger communities, and our congregation also has a strong outreach to people outside. And both Terence and I had been director of the Redemptorist mission team, and many
Yeah.
times when we go to the schools, what we are doing with the young people in schools is not sacramental ministry, but that space has been allowed and made for us, to be engaged in that kind of ministry, particularly as redemptorists. And sometimes we might need to say a mass in a school, but that's not what we do most of the time. Yeah. So I think that allowance of that space is the very particular calling, I think, of religious and redemptorists, that we have interest in evangelizing and sharing the good news in many different ways. And that's what really leads us to choose this life, because we feel that God has called us to it.
Yeah.
Okay, we might have to leave it there for the time being. And
Mhm.
I have a feeling that religious life is so rich, so deep, profound, and for us who have lived it for quite a number of years, and we are quite junior. Many of our confreres have been around much, much longer than we have. And I think really to immerse ourselves in this life takes a long, long time. And so we hope in future episodes, as the objectives of our podcast is to share a little bit at a time, more and more about our Redemptorist charism and our Redemptorist way of life. Okay, on to some quick announcements. First of all, what if you feel that you want to know a little bit more about the Redemptorist charism, the Redemptorist way of life? Maybe you feel that God is calling you to this way of life. You find Terence and Anthony such inspiring characters. You like to live with them. What can you do? Okay, you can send an email to Vocation Director CSSR at novenachurch.com. We'll put it down in the description, okay? Vocation Director CSSR at novenachurch.com. No commitment whatsoever. Okay, we're not going to arrange your final profession immediately after you email us. Just let us know who you are, that you'd like to know a little bit more about this life. And we have programs of discernment, regular days of recollection. We provide spiritual direction to those who are searching and discerning in their lives. So we look forward to hear from you if you have this interest.
At the off chance that you are listening out of Singapore or Malaysia, you can still contact us. We'll be very happy to talk to you. But also maybe you might want to also contact the Redemptorist in your local country, wherever that you are. So I'm sure any of the Redemptorists will be very happy to have a chat with you.
Sure. And if you write to us, we can put you in touch with whoever is in charge in the country where you are or where you come from. Okay? Anthony, all the best. Anthony is now very busy because he's working on his synthesis paper. That's like a thesis that he has to finish before he can graduate. And it's very easy, isn't it?
Not really. I'm trying my best. Actually, Jerry, I have a point to add. Not long ago, I also went through this same process. I contacted the vocation director using the email ID, and then I went through this process. And for our listeners who are listening to this podcast, I would say the Redemptorist community is a welcoming community. They are very approachable. These guys are good guys. That's why I joined them. And there are so much of richness in the tradition of the Redemptorists. And I think we are soon celebrating even our 75 years of presence and the Novena Devotions here at Singapore and Malaysia. And I have learned a lot and I have grown a lot. And that's why even just before my final profession, I was telling my spiritual director then for the Paul Phuang, and he was just asking me how was it, and I said it's all worth it. And so much of learnings I've gone through, and so much of unlearning and learning, and it's a beautiful process. And I would really encourage viewers who are thinking of joining a religious order, and maybe the Redemptorists, the congregation of the Most Holy Redeemer, might be the one for you.
All right. Thank you very much, Anthony. All the best for your final exams and for your thesis. Our prayers are with you.
Yes.
And we look forward to see you back here in Singapore very, very soon.
Yes.
Okay. So we will also ask all the listeners to just say a special prayer for Brother Anthony so that he can pass with flying colors and come back to serve us here in Malaysia and Singapore.
And any comments, any questions, you can just put it down in the comment section below. We look forward to hear from you, and we'll even try to get back to you as best as we can. All right?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for being here with us. Thank you, Terence. Thank you, Anthony. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, everyone, and hope to see you here online at the Redemptorist Friendship Circle again very soon. So all the best and goodbye.
God's blessings to all of you and your families. Bye bye.